Last time on Ninth Kami Podcast.
Playable right now, whereas Scorpion had most of Kotai season with their exact
But like,
deck.
what if the RL comes out and they just go all Scorpion cards, all red cards, and then just bam, done. Like,
Are there Scorpion cards they haven't
I
restricted
bet
yet?
it feels like it.
Well, they could ban backhanded compliment.
They should just outright ban that card because Welcome to the Ninth Kami Podcast. We are going to be screaming into the void in existential panic. I am the Laughing Spider.
I'm Whacked Maki.
And we have a guest with us today because James cannot be here. We have Isawa Jim.
Good morning.
So, do you guys want to just get right into it? Like, because everything is different. Life is pain and everything hurts. Like,
Let's just jump into it.
right? So the day before Christmas, I think, they came out with something that I think only one other LCG has had, and that's a ban list. Like a whole, like, do not die good dead kind of ban list. Like, they're gone. They're gone, and I love it. I think this is a great idea.
He's dead, Jem.
So I was talking to somebody about this, and even though it's fairly rare for an LCG to have a ban list, that's pretty much only because Fantasy Flight's the only people that make them. And even still, we got a ban list later than Magic the Gathering got their first ban list.
Okay, that's not fair. That's not fair. The rules of Magic the Gathering when it was first released were terrible. I'm going to play a deck with 20 lands and 20 bolts, and good luck, everybody. Like,
That's not true. They've had the restricted 4 to 4 copies since the beginning. I mean, they did have the same problem that we had in that there were just really good cards from the get-go that needed to be dealt with. I'm talking, of course, about the Power 9.
oh, the Moxes, too?
The 5 Moxes, Time Walk, Time Twister, Black Lotus, and Ancestral Recall.
Thank you kindly.
He does play Magic on the side. I actually never really played Magic all that great. My local play group were a bunch of assholes, and I played when I was too young, so I ended up just playing, like, crazy bullcrap like Tribal Cephalid. So, no. I never actually learned much about anything when it came to Magic.
Just, I'll go into it because it gives a little context for our ban list. The reason they got banned so hard so early was because they belonged. If you ran those colors, and even if you didn't, like the Moxes went in every deck.
I know what the Moxes do, and yeah, no, absolutely. There was no reason not to run it.
Yeah, the Moxes went in every deck. If you had any way to generate blue mana, just being able to take an extra turn with Time Walk was ridiculous. Black Lotus went in every deck. And they were warping.
If you didn't have a way to generate blue mana, you were doing it wrong.
Yeah. Like, so let's go into what specifically did get banned, and I think we should start from the top and kind of give our thoughts. Actually, we should group these because there are two groups. There's Guest of Honor, Isawa Tadaka, and Master Geisi Toshi. So let's start with those three.
So those three all have the common link of wanting to prevent your opponent from playing cards.
Guest of Honor just straight out preventing it outright. So yeah, basically, anything that says you can't play this game anymore, just sit there and wait while I do my conflict, has to go.
I don't know if they had to go, but I understand where a lot of people had considered them a negative play experience.
As a Phoenix player, I understand that you were often the one who did the messing with, but as players of other clans, let me assure you, they weren't fun cards to deal with.
I actually didn't run them.
He was
I ran into them more than I actually played them.
right. So we might have forgotten to give some pretext here. Isawa Jim is a Hatamoto, but he is a Jankamoto. So
This is true.
but I don't think Tyler has said in a lot of places that Tadaka, the way he was printed, was just a mistake. Like he thinks that was just a terrible idea.
It definitely was.
Yeah, especially since he was kind of printed at the time before the restricted list really had taken off.
Fun fact, his first version in playtesting also made it so while he was in play, the opponent just had their hand revealed.
Oh yeah, in addition to not being able to play cards that have already been played.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's really bad. Guest of honor. I understand the choice on guest of honor, to be honest, but I honestly think the guest of honor was probably the least problematic of the three.
So the restricted list basically would have soft banned all three of them. But instead of just soft banning them and still having it be a potential, especially Tadaka, like he very well could have still been picked. They also added clutter to the restricted list by having things like the secluded shrine on there and just having a blanket policy of we don't want this effect anymore, and banning all of them makes far more sense to me.
I completely agree. I'm glad that these cards are dying a swift death. Think that they are ridiculously not fun to play.
Against.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement there. It's just I have a personal policy that I think banning a card should be a last resort. And banning a mechanic even more so. It's where do you draw the line? If this is a negative play experience, then what about counterspells?
Counterspells cost resources.
Some of them do.
All three counterspells cost at minimum one card to be played from your hand. That is a resource. These do not require any resource.
I mean, they're all fairly expensive characters.
Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room. The Master of Gacy Toshi is not as bad as the other two, but like it enables 5 fires. What I want to know, like up front, and we'll probably talk about this later when we get into the RL and talk about Phoenix, but what I want to know is, are towers going to be the new thing that everyone does because of your 5 fires might not land 100% of the time? Like, are towers just going to be a thing?
Is that a bad thing?
No, I need to know, because like I have a duel to the death deck that like kind of needs to know if towers are going to be a thing or not.
I don't think towers are going away. I think towers will always be a thing, whether or not they are the most prevalent thing is going to be your question here. But I don't think they're going to disappear completely, even if they recede.
We are also about to hit the cycle with the new mechanic of Rally, which will support the wide game plan more. As of right now, we don't have that support, but we very well could see a change in a lot of factions in 3 months' time.
Right, that's kind of what I'm talking about, is the shift in the paradigm, which is a fancy way of saying that like instead of building towers with Rally and with City of the Rich Frog and those who serve. Like, why doesn't Crab simply just build the Keeper of Fire Krabbit deck and run the what's that stupid Fury of the Damned and release the Djinn and like never lose?
The Krabbits deck is solid, but the fact that multiple decks exist within Crab especially is quite the accomplishment, I would say.
That you don't have to just run Keeper of Water fight on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were telling me at Worlds after the rules got freed, you were like, well, I'm going to build Keeper of Water and just never going to take it apart. That's just the deck that I'm going to run now.
And I mean, I do have Keeper of Water together right now. We will see what happens to the Go Wide Crab deck. There are a couple cards that it is completely built upon that could be in danger in future restricted lists.
Those who serve?
Yes, that being the main one. And part of the reason that Krabbits was the deck to play was because of things like 5 Fires being uncontestable, as well as, well, we'll get to other cards that have been put on this list. Mark of shame.
Right. So why don't we move to Karada, Kanjo, and Hidden Moon Dojo. Karada, Mr. Crab Champion.
So, of the 3, I think Karada was the least oppressive. The main matchups you wanted it in were Dragon and in the Mirror match. The Mirror match was usually decided by who flipped Karada District first, which was very unfortunate. But there were matchups where you didn't want it at all. I think the main reason Karada found its way onto this list is because of the errata they gave to Shihobu. There was just no way that they could allow Karada District to be a 4 of in a deck.
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
Because since Shihobu searches and places the holding face up now, she is very playable. Whereas before, when she just tutored for something face down, she wasn't any good. And so you will see Shihobu in a large variety of decks now, which means that Karada would be everywhere.
So actually, I was thinking that something fun that you could have done with Karada District is make it require a courtier, because that's Yasuki land, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, just make it like require a merchant or a courtier in order to activate, like the esteemed tea house.
Yeah, I think that you would run into their problem of not wanting to errata a bunch of cards in non-intuitive ways.
You're right. But like that was something that I had thought about and I thought was pretty clever.
Yeah, if it was printed that way, it'd be a lot more interesting. I will certainly miss it, especially in the Scorpion matchup where calling in favors now just wrecks us in a matchup that they didn't need more help in.
So Jim, what are your thoughts about Kanjo District leaving?
So Kanjo District had kind of the opposite problem. You didn't particularly want to see it in the mirror match because the Meta Phoenix decks were really good about taking honor or taking the favor. It just kind of became a fight for the favor. I don't think it was nearly as powerful as some of the other cards on the restricted list. Don't get me wrong, it's really powerful. But it's not quite Hidden Moon Dojo powerful. However, the ability to send home and bow probably was a mistake at design. So far it's one of the few cards that does both.
Right. I mean, like Max can probably attest to this. Like, if you sit across from, like, if you're playing Towers and you sit across from a Phoenix and they flip Imperial Palace Kanjo District on turn 1, you're like, oh, cool. Like, you want to get a beer? Like, this game's pretty much over. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
The other problem with it that I've always had is that it feeds itself. Once you have it online, it feeds itself the favor.
And it does. But you have to get it online, and I can't tell you how many times I've flipped it and it hasn't gone online. I'd say that a lot of Phoenix probably don't have that issue.
well, yeah, a lot of Phoenix run Ancient Master, so it's actually pretty easy for them to surprise take the favor.
Yeah, no. When I saw Kanjo District on this list, I had maybe about 1 second's worth of surprise at most.
Just the limit one-ups, the three most powerful. I'm really not surprised to see them go, and I'm not really sad to see them go. I think Hidden Moon Dojo kind of exists in the same vein as Magistrate Station, kind of, where if Hidden Moon Dojo flips and you don't break it the turn that it flips, it gets worse every turn. Every turn that thing is allowed to stay there, it gets infinitely worse.
I can agree with that.
It's free fate generation, it's free card manipulation, it's extra cards.
Yeah, like it does everything.
It'll even wash your car.
And then we'll move on to we'll probably just talk about Charge in isolation, because this is a card that I've wanted to see go away for a very long time. This card is bad. It was a mistake. It was a bigger mistake than Tadaka, in my opinion. Charge is a card that never should have been printed.
I don't agree. Never should have printed. If you look at the design at the time we're recording this of the game, it doesn't look like it fits in. But if you look at the design of the core set alone, then you can see where people were thinking, oh, we're just going to have more effects like this. If they had more effects like that, it would not have been nearly as bad in a vacuum. But because it's effectively the only one that does that to that power level, yes, it got bad. And it became practically an auto-include. If you didn't want another restricted card on the list, you took Charge.
Right. Like when before Charge got put on the RL, the local Crane player in mine and Jim's meta just ran 3 copies, because why not? Like a Crane running 3 copies of Charge because it's that good.
Yeah, no, every single person ran it. There was no reason not to.
There was no reason not to. It was good, but I mean there also wasn't a lot of a card pool at that point in time. So you just ran good cards because they were there. You didn't have a choice.
I think a lot of the people who have been talking about this have really ignored the absence of Charge going forward. Like, I don't think HMT is going to be a deck anymore. I think it's effectively been killed.
I think HMT is still a real deck. They still have access to cavalry reserves with their character that mills 5. They just can't cheat Chagtai into turn on turn 1. But at the same time, a lot of their problematic cards also left.
How so?
Yeah, because I don't know what other cards left for HMT.
Kurimori is restricted.
Oh, that.
Master of Gisei Toshi and Guest of Honor, they could not deal with those. Hidden Moon Dojo is one of Scorpion's best ways to fight against them. Toshimoko is restricted, and while he's probably still the choice, there are going to be times he's not, and Unicorn very much struggled to deal with Toshimoko. And Unicorn HMT also got For Greater Glory.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
I don't think HMT is going away. I don't think it's going to be the 2-turn clock it used to be. If you weren't prepared to deal with it, they were just going to win turn 2.
I think that the deck also now probably runs Gateway to Maido.
Some do. I was actually talking about this the other night with our local Unicorn player. Gateway to Maido has a deck, but it benefits a lot from an Earth roll. A lot of Unicorn are going to be chosen or torn between an Earth roll and a Fire roll for release the Jin.
If they want to go with a more wide build, then Jin makes sense. If they want to go for Cav reserves for Greater Glory nonsense, I think they'd rather have whatever the card's name is. I think the other thing to look at here for Unicorn now has Shahai again, because Against the Waves is gone. And Shahai gives them a very powerful covert body that can enable their go wide build if they want, and I think that enables them to take the deck in different directions.
Yeah, it also opens up the whole Mishoto. They just have more cheaper Mishoto options again now.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that going forward. That plays into what you were talking about, Crab, is that they now have choices. They now have multiple decks rather than they show up, they all have the same role, they all have HMT, and they're just, going to come for your stronghold as fast as they can. Now they have different ways to approach that, and I think that's healthy for the game.
Yeah. We might even see people play different decks. I think Unicorn have a very cool deck out of Golden Plains Outpost with Fan of Command to basically just make a mega tower, which, with Consumed by Five Fires being unsafe, is much more reasonable, where the mega tower just uses Golden Plains Outpost and similar. There are a ton of Unicorn cards that move in and out of fights, and you just get this tower into every fight, moving them in and straightening them with Fan of Commands. I played against it at Worlds in the side event afterwards, and it was a very real deck. Like, it did work. It's just wasn't HMT, so nobody played it. But without charge, yeah, it's possible, right? Looking at these other
Yeah.
decks, it should be a thing people are trying to do.
I actually ran into a Shiro Shinjo deck in the main event, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's another one.
I think the Earth Roll Unicorn deck might actually lean towards Shiro Shinjo because the Gateway to Mido approach is really expensive. So I think if they're going to do that, they're going to probably want more resource generation, and I can't really blame them for that.
Nah.
So we kind of got sidetracked a little bit with charge there. Do we want to talk about Hidden Moon Dojo next while we were talking about the holdings?
I mean, we kind of talked about it. Card gave too much free stuff. It was everything you wanted in a card. It basically gave characters free fate. It allowed you to play everything from your hand. It was incredibly swingy when it showed up, especially if it showed up on something like Upholding Authority or Secret Cache. You may as well just like throw your cards out the window at that point.
I think there's an underlying issue here also that hasn't really been talked about. Between the ban list and the restricted list, Fantasy Flight has done a big job of trying to dummy out auto includes. It didn't matter what version of Scorpion you ran Hidden Moon Dojo.
Yep.
So between that and the restricted list, I think the only auto include card now in the entire game is Court Games.
And Bonsai.
Bonsai, not so much anymore. I've seen decks slowly filter it out for Perfect Cut.
But we
yeah.
can talk more about that when we get to the part we set up to talk about that. Trojan's Curse got put on there because they changed the way the game works and it no longer played favorably with the game. Gaining 14 fate would be insane.
So you wouldn't gain 14 fate because you don't gain fate until the dynasty phase. But what it did do was it became a 100% fire rate.
Oh.
Instead of let's engineer the situation, it's I'm just going to throw this on a guy and it's going to go off no matter what I do. It also guaranteed that you kept first player.
Yeah, because you would pass first player twice, right?
So yeah, no, that died. That just died to the rules update. And I understand it, but it's a neat concept of a card, and I'm sad to see it go.
Well, you can still play it in multiplayer.
Maybe. Doesn't these affect multiplayer too?
No, multiplayer has its own ban list. Multiplayer is not organized play.
I don't know. I think it should be on there too because of the way the phases work now.
You're not wrong, but as of right now, it is not.
Yeah, that just kind of gets worse in that situation, I'd think. I was only surprised in the original press release that they were considering banning it
Yeah.
rather than just outright messing with it.
Yep. Next card, Miyamoto's Daisho. The card was printed to give them a way to try to mess with dueling some. All it ended up doing was reading, when you play this, drain 9 honor from your opponent.
Yeah, I thought this card was disgusting from the get-go.
Yes, it was. It turns out turning every card in your hand into better backhanded compliment is really good.
Yeah, I don't know why this was printed in the first place. I don't know why it didn't have more restrictions on it. It's also just a straight up better Iijutsu duel master. So I don't know why you would give one clan a better card than another clan in the same pack.
Yeah, like, I think they tended to look more at the I can use this to win duels guaranteed than they did I can just make drain of honor. And also, at the time, nobody was playing 2-cost attachments because there was a ton of attachment removal, so they were probably like, well, let's make a powerful 2-cost attachment. And then all of a sudden, like, that kind of went away a little bit, especially because, defend your honor. That reads, this stays and you lose an honor.
Yeah, that and Defend Your Honor together was just ridiculous. If they're going away from the errata, which I can kind of agree with the sentiment there, then yeah, this card needed to be on the ban list.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If dueling wasn't honor, I don't think Miyamoto's Daisho would have been bad, but I think honor is probably the best way to resolve dueling, as every single thing that I've tried to think of to replace honor has been either completely ignorable or completely degenerate. So I think Daisho had to go because I don't even know why it was a dragon card to begin with. Like, I understand why it was called Miyamoto's Daisho, but the effect of en masse dishonor was never really a Miyamoto thing anyway. It was more of a Kakita thing. So I never really liked playing with the Daisho. I had played Daisho for damn near a year, and I am so happy to see it leave, because I personally just don't like that deck. And Tyler went on to an interview recently, and he basically said that the dragon players will see a net gain on enjoyment of the game. Like dragon players will definitely enjoy the game more if they feel like they can play a deck that isn't Miyamoto's Daisho.
My only thing about the Daisho is it was weird how long it took to get off the ground. When that card was printed, I thought we were going to see a lot more of it.
I don't think there was enough duels at the time, and to be honest, I think it's because of Crane that the Daisho finally got the ban, because if you have Yoshi with the favor, you can bid 5 and still dishonor your opponent out of the game.
There was a good bit of discussion on Facebook about the dragon version, that because there was a guy who built a deck that was purely like, it was just Daisho, cards that do dueling, and every duel irrelevant of if it had a good or bad effect. Because you would just throw duels out there and be like, I don't care if I win or lose this, drain it on it, and it was like a turn 2 or 3, drain you 15 honor was the goal of the deck.
And that's just not fun, right? Like, if you sit across from someone and they flip up like Swordsmith Yakuni favorable and their Keeper of Water, you have to just make a split-second decision where you're like, well, crap, are they going to try and like duel me into oblivion, or is this just monks with fight on? I don't know. Like,
I think that this card honestly has found its way onto the list more in line with the Tadaka Guest of Honor Master of Gisei Toshi thought, where It's just not fun to play against.
You're right. Anything that reduces your opponent's ability to make decisions in the game is bad. Like, that's something that I am completely in agreement with.
Because when the correct choice was literally, I could defend this, but how about nah? And that would be the correct choice, was just be like, no, I just don't block.
Yeah, we're just gonna dance around each other. I'm gonna covert your tower, and then when you swing back at me, I'm gonna let you walk in, and then we're just gonna try and like old school 80s knife fight our way out of this game.
Yeah, like, I would defend with a character that would be like, Daisho would be like, cool, Way of the Crab.
Right.
I'm out.
All right, let's get on to talking about clans as a whole, right? And that includes the restricted listing.
Yeah, I guess we can run down the RL when we're talking about each clan.
Because, well, the reason I want to do that is because when we get to Dragon, or when we get to Lion, we're going to have to talk about the fact that Steward of Law, For Greater Glory, Imperial Palace, Mia Satoshi, and Mark of Shame are all on and off the list. I'm pretty sure that Lion might still run Forged Edict. Like, that's just kind of what I'm thinking right now. But we'll get to that soon.
Well, I guess if that's what you want, let's go ahead and start with Lion.
I suppose. Yeah, so Lion got For Greater Glory back, but it lost charge. Now, I personally don't see this as being that, like, getting For Greater Glory back with the loss of charge doesn't feel like you're getting For Greater Glory back, in my opinion. Because even if you take it, you're not taking charge. So it's basically like saying whatever other card that you get from the RL, just whatever card you do choose from the RL, was taken off of the RL instead. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my head. But I honestly think that the restricted list isn't good to Lion. They don't know what to take anymore, right? Because they can't take charge because it's banned. They can take For Greater Glory, but that doesn't use up the RL slot. They could take Steward of Law, but that's also off the RL.
Gateway Tomato.
Yeah, they could, but Those Who Serve doesn't work with Gateway.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say the probably a correct choice is Policy Debate. Turns out that card's broken.
So that is the other card that I wanted to see banned, because I'm 99% certain that Policy Debate will simply become the new charge.
It's a neutral card that if you have no better choice, you pick it.
Because the old Lion plan was Forged Edict, Mark of Shame, Calling in Favors. Like, that was, or Miyako. That was the Scorpion package for Lion. That was the Lion package for them. And with Mark of Shame and Forged Edict both on the RL, I don't think that they're going to want to splash Scorpion anymore. So they just go with Policy Debate. I don't know, splash Crane, I guess, for Steward of Law.
Yeah.
I mean, they could also splash Dragon for Favor Control, Tattooed Wanderer, Let Go.
Miramoto's Fury if they wanted it.
It turns out that when you have an actual comic, like one of the founders of the clans messing with stuff in person, those cards are just broken. Nobody else.
Right.
I don't get like Hida's Wrath. How come Dragon gets Miramoto messing with stuff, man? Come on.
I mean, she was still around doing stuff.
But both Miramoto's Daisho and his Fury.
Like, you have Hida's Wrath. It's called Way of the Crab.
This is true.
Like, stock in Way of the Crab is going way up. Like, congratulations, you're gonna have to play this game entirely differently now. Like, if you sit across from a crab player, be prepared, because they will probably hit you with the Way of the Crab. And it's gonna suck if you kill anyone with Fate on them.
Well, I mean, that's been that way since core.
I mean, kinda. I mean, like, Max only ran one copy of Way of the Crab, and I think, didn't you take it out before Worlds?
I was running 3-Way of the Crab at Worlds.
Oh my god, you madman! Like,
Yeah, my first ever game against Mozi. I didn't know who he was. We just sat down from each other, and this is out of core box, and I get the flip of Forgotten Library, Shiba Sukune, Library. I look up and I see the Crab Stronghold, and I just die inside.
Like, yeah. Like, what do you do? I would have passed, to be honest. I would have just straight passed. I would have gotten 8 cards. I know that you didn't have new Tadaka, but like a flip like that today would not be bad. Like,
Yeah, no. But at the time, no, that was god awful. Yeah, no, the correct answer would have been passing. The real answer was I looked him dead in the eye and said, if you have it, you have it. And I bought Shiba Sukune with 2 Fate.
fair enough. But yeah, I think Lion made away like a bandit on this. They have a lot of good choices. I want to see the Pathfinder's Blade make a comeback with Time for War. I think that's a really fun deck.
You know, it might actually. Crab Splash is not bad for Lion right now.
Yeah, well, with Charge gone, Reprieve becomes a lot less of a good splash.
True, but it's still good.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't go Pathfinder's Blade and you go Gateway to Mado.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So what you do is you use your Spirit Caller to bring in Totori. You put a Reprieve on him, and then you play for Greater Glory. So Reprieve keeps him around from the Spirit Caller effect, and then he's got a Fate.
I mean, you can, but I don't. Hey,
look, paying 2 Fate for Totori for 2 turns, it's the same thing as if you charged him and then for Greater Gloried.
I suppose. Hey, you all remember when Reprieve was on the RL?
Yeah.
I wish
times.
it still. I mean, it never was, but
Yeah, it was.
no, Iron Mine was on the RL.
No, it was Reprieve and Iron Mine, but Rebuild wasn't on the RL.
Reprieve has never been on the RL.
Ooh.
It just should have been.
It should have been, though. Anyway, so why don't we talk about Phoenix? Because we have Isawa Jim, and Phoenix exploded.
Phoenix both exploded and imploded. A lot of the key cards in the meta deck just died, like, completely. Charge Bird definitely, well, it was in the name.
Right.
So that one is going to probably be the first meta deck to recover. It's just going to become an Echoes Bird build.
Oh, yeah, with air.
Yeah, so you're going to probably see Keeper of Air for the initiates, and it's just going to be, you're going to use Mia Satoshi to put the bird in the discard pile and use Echoes to bring it out. And it works.
The fact that Mia Satoshi is off of the RL is pretty nice.
Does that deck take Palace or Kurimori? Or do you have your Fire Chicken rap battle with them to establish dominance? Because 6 is a really high political number.
I would say that your choice is really Kurimori or Policy Debate on that.
Wait, why not? Why not Gateway to Mado?
Because you don't want to hard buy the bird.
Fair. I was just gonna be like, well, you could though.
You could.
My argument for Palace is that it's a really good stopgap for Satoshi.
That's true.
You need cards for Satoshi to stop on, and Palace is an excellent one.
This is true. At that point, though, instead of using your RL, you could just put like 1, maybe 2 of the magistrates, so you have an Imperial body that will stop him.
I mean, in traditional KI, I would rather just have like Storehouse than the Magistrate.
Is Storehouse Imperial?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, you have options other than the Palace, is what I was getting at, that you can use that you don't even need. If you're running the Palace just as a stopgap, you could just run one of these other cards.
I think you run Korimori. I legit, yeah. I'm convinced that Korimori is such a broken, insanely powerful card that you just take it. Like, 5 fires be damned. You take Korimori because, like, Five Fires is also supposed to help you get rid of wide builds as well, but, like, who cares? They can't win against political fights, so they come in with all their army for a military, and you're like, oh, Korimori, sorry guys, you can all go home now. Good game. Like, it's so devastating.
Consumed by Five Fires is also Seeker only in your Keeper of Air deck.
Oh, you run Seeker. Like, Travis ran Seeker of Air to get the freaking burb out. So, like, I don't see much in the difference on that, to be honest.
The keepers give you the initiates. Was the only thing.
Yeah, but like I said, I still think Korimori is the card. Like Crab runs Rebuild. That full stop. Whatever you take away from Crab, you're just soft banning until you get rid of Rebuild.
I've played Spyglass. I played Charge at Worlds. Rebuild is definitely
fair.
the choice for Kyuden Hida. But Shiro Nishiyama could even play Gateway to Maido. I mean, you can play Gateway to Maido and Kyuden Hida, especially with Satoshi back. They didn't do anything to the combo. It's still there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I do think Korimori is the right choice, though.
I would say for about 80 to 85 of Phoenix Sex, it's absolutely the right choice. If you're not running Korimori, you're running something super niche. Yeah, speaking of which, I'd be remiss not to mention the Dishonor deck.
Of course.
I honestly think my restricted card becomes Mark of Shame. Losing Korimori feels like cutting off a leg, though, which is why I say that.
Well, you could just run Shameful instead.
Yeah.
I mean, your initial build didn't even run Korimori. What the deck that you took to top 4 at the Seattle Kotai didn't run Korimori. Ran Shameful, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the choice still has to be made.
Yeah. Do you want to move to Crab, Max? I'm certain everyone is waiting patiently to hear your opinions.
We haven't addressed the Phoenix Erratas.
Oh, God, no, we haven't.
Against the Waves.
We've just implied.
Against the Waves now only bows are straight in Shugenja you control. So if you ever wanted to just bow your own Shugenja because screw that person, you can for one fate. Kyuden Isawa now requires you to discard a spell card from your hand as an additional cost. So Kyuden Isawa went from draw the best spell in your deck and play it to a spell in your hand becomes the best spell in your deck, play it. Which is still a very reasonable and powerful card.
And it's probably still going to be the most popular stronghold for Phoenix.
Yeah, I think that everyone knew the KI nerf was coming. Against the Waves, I think most people suspected would be added to the restricted list instead of errated like this. I like this solution more.
People have been calling for this solution for a while, and I can't really say I blame them. It makes a lot more sense. But
so Tyler said that the only reason he chose to errata this card is because apparently this card is going to be in one of the organized play kits in this year. So he can actually get the fixed errated version of the card into people's hands.
Quick note on that. I get where they're coming from with that. I still don't like it as a solution because, well, right now, yeah, great. You can get these fixed cards into people's hands. What about people who start, next year or 2 years or 3 years from now, and they're like, wow, you errated it this way because it would be easy to get to people, and I can't get the card anymore.
Well, if you read the document, it says that these cards are getting reprinted as this. So I think just future...
I read it as just the promos, but maybe we'll see.
So, hold on. I'm going to pull up the rules reference here. These text changes will be reflected in any future printing of the cards, whether in reprints of existing product, promotional printings, and new printings in future products.
That's good then.
So if you have a brand new player who's not buying a collection after January, and they just buy a new product straight from FFG, it theoretically would have the new printing on it.
That's good.
I think Cute Nisawa is fair.
Yeah.
That's really my only input on that. Sadly, is that it went from every Phoenix deck ever, save for maybe one person, Jim.
Not to name names.
Not to name names, but every Phoenix deck except Jim, and then that's it. And now maybe we could see some Dragon Ball Bushi, some Bushi Honor Explosion kind of thing. I'm down to see it, you know?
I think Echo Birds is the first meta deck to recover. I think the Glory Conquest deck is going to be the first thing to actually emerge from this, and I'm all for it. I want variety in our decks, so I want to see that at tournaments.
One thing I wanted to bring up here, I think Against the Waves change is actually the most impactful change of this entire thing for the metagame. Because for so long, no big Shugenja that weren't Yokuni have been playable. Crab hasn't been able to play Kuniyori. Unicorn hasn't been able to play Uchisha High. I'm sure there are other examples. Those are the two I know right offhand that become very playable and will find their way into decks simply because there isn't one cost bow your idiot anymore.
Yes, I completely agree. Like, Kuniyori needs to show up and start tearing off faces. Like, I'm down for this.
Yeah.
Like, I think Kuniyori should go in the Krabbit's deck. And I think the reason he wasn't in the Krabbit's deck is because paying 5 fate just for your opponent to go, I bow my stronghold to bow Kuniyori. Like,
Yeah.
well, that sucks.
I was heavily testing the Kuni Tadaka Bros deck before Worlds for Crab, and it was pretty good and it worked pretty well. But when you came against Phoenix, you had 2 5-cost Shugenja who just got wrecked. And so I couldn't play the deck because I knew Phoenix would be popular.
Turns out they were criminally underrepresented.
Yes. I probably could have played the deck, but I think that deck is way more playable now. You have Against the Waves to straighten your own guys. You have Tadaka. You can play like a random pacifism if you want, or there are a couple cards you can fill the last few influence with, but like the deck is fun. I had a lot of fun with that deck. My opponents hated it because I would just turn to bid 1 and be like, Tadaka you every turn, Kuniyori you every turn, you don't need a hand.
And I, as a Phoenix player, am 100% on board with seeing people running more Shugenja. Not just because I have Jank that I want to use, but just because I like the theme of Shugenja, and that even though Phoenix thematically are the spiritual protectors, we shouldn't be the only magic
I
wizards
think
out
this
there.
man's also ready to jam Taryu GI into all his decks.
3 of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
3 of in every
You
deck.
say that. You say that like it's not already in there.
I am down. That card's gonna be fun.
So, yeah, one of the things we talked about while you were off dealing with family and other issues was the fact that Shahai coming back as a real playable unicorn card opens him up with a different deck there. The Go Wide deck kind of plays that way with Shahai.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think that it'll be... I think that is the single biggest impactful change. Others impact the clans they are in, but that single change impacts every clan.
Dragon, the Dragon Discord has been talking about running Katana of Fire with Against the Waves, and I'm completely down for that because the biggest problem with the Katana of Fire deck that I had built was that if I sit across from a Phoenix, they just go, oh, your Master Alchemist is 14 force and has a giant Katana of Fire. Well, he sits now.
Yep, it just sucked. So, anyway, next clan, Crab, because, yeah, Crab did... Not much changed. if I'm being honest.
It feels like a lot had changed.
We lost Karada District, which sucks, but we gained Shahobu as a playable card. And it turns out Shahobu is a really good card. Whether or not she makes it into every deck, I doubt. But she's definitely going to make it into many decks, and it allows the holdings to change up some. We can actually play some of the wall holdings and just put them there when we want them.
Yes, so the one that says whenever you win, or there's one that's really dependent on the situation, and being able to drop it with Shahobu is really nice.
It's also kind of a product of the current meta game, the fact that she's usable like this. Right now, nobody's really running Cloud the Mind.
That'll change.
That will
Yes.
probably not change. I actually don't believe it will.
With everybody running more Shigenja?
Well, yeah, but like think about it. Like with the RL standing as it is, the only person off the top of my mind that I want to cloud immediately is Ujina. That's it.
So,
like, I can't really think of anyone else that I need to cloud.
If Cloud the Mind starts coming back in force, then Shahobu goes way down in value. But right now, with the fact that almost nobody is running Cloud the Mind, and we can have a few Mia Mystics or do Hida Kote lying around, we can try to deal with that. But other than that, we gained access back to the Mido deck again in force. It's fine. People were actually testing it some before without access to Satoshi, just using Kyuden Hida, and we're getting pretty good results with it. So I think that is a very real possibility of a deck that we'll see from Crab again. The main tower deck didn't change, aside from the fact that now we just lose really hard to calling in favors.
Yeah, like the main tower deck for Crab has not changed since Spyglass went on the RL all those like that year ago.
Yeah.
Like, and it's still good now. It's still good today. Like,
I think that Crab really has 3 decks. 3 decks and some like jankier decks. We've got Gateway to Mido. We have the Krabbits deck, and we have the Tower deck. The Tower deck can take different flavors. You could go the traditional like Spyglass build. You could go Kyuden Hida rebuild. You could do the Tadaka Yori Power Bros. There are different ways to go about that deck, but it is just the Dynasty is going to look almost identical in every one. It's just kind of what spice you add to your conflict deck that's going to be a little different.
So here's a question that I really want to know, because we have a Crab player who really wants to play dedicated Crab Dishonor, and I want to know if that's possible. Like with like what 3 display of power effects as on Crab cards, right? You have the Caillou wall that says resolve it as the attacker. You have the province that resolves it as the attacker, and you have the staunch Hida, which resolves it as the attacker. Like, you could basically get like up to 4 ring effects for successfully defending a province. That's like 4 honor loss right there.
Is it Staunch Hida's unplayable garbage because she's a dash political?
Ooh. Yeah, that's fair. But it's 2 for 2. Like,
putting that card in your deck is a mistake. Lion can't play 2 cost 2 ones. Why should we play 2 cost 2 dashes?
Okay. That's fair.
Then the other 2 are super playable cards, but the problem is with a Dishonor deck, a lot of the time you kind of want to use your guys for trying to get unopposed conflicts. That's one of the ways that Scorpion will drain you a lot of honors. They attack, they make your guys go away, and they'll like trigger blackmail artists and basically drain you for 2 honor, right? Whereas Crab, to trigger these other cards, has to win on defense, which means they are mandatorily committing a lot of cards to defense.
You have the Shadowlands Hunter, which kind of does what the blackmail artist does. Oh crap! So that's a bad sign that you don't know the card. But
It's a 2-cost 2/0 that makes it so that when it wins, the conflict is unopposed.
yeah, like
it's fine.
That's
However,
good.
have you ever attacked and then been display of powered when they defended?
Oh, okay.
Like it's
Yeah.
playable-ish, but the problem is that Crab only has like 1 card that actively loses honor, and that's Watch Commander. And that card does such a good job of doing it that you don't need the rest of these cards around it. It's better to have card draw to leverage your bid 1 ability than to be playing these janky cards that require you to invest more in them to get use, like a 2-cost 2/0 and a 2-cost 2 dash, because then you have to draw more cards or your cards are blank and you're not dishonoring them.
Okay, so maybe in the future, but definitely not now.
Yeah, especially since these cards will be around for longer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
If you want to play hard Dishonor, you just play the Crab deck with Scorpion Splash for some backhanded compliments. Like,
yeah,
I don't think you can play this janky, unopposed trigger rings while defending, but like the opponent just doesn't attack air, and all of your cards are just like, huh, well, that okay,
And that's the other thing is that's a strategy that completely relies on your opponent, which inherently does not make it a good strategy.
Plus, they'll just be like, oh, well, that's the province I can't attack because you trigger the ring 3 times or whatever. I'll just attack every other province.
Right, and then you have to run for Talisman, and if you're running for Talisman, you're not running backhanded. So
yeah, like the deck, there are pieces that exist that you can put in a deck, and maybe you'll win games with them. I wouldn't take it to any big tournaments, but if you want to have fun with it, I'm all about it. Your opponent probably won't have fun with it, but that's this game.
Sometimes only one person gets to have fun.
Look, there is a set amount of fun to be had in any given match, and I want all the fun.
Conservation of fun.
Do you wanna? Is there anything left on Crab?
Nothing specifically for Crab, no. I mean, some matchups got better, some matchups got worse, but that's more dependent on what the other clans had.
So I think we should move to Dragon, because Dragon is really easy and really quick. Basically, nothing has changed, except Steward of Law is off of the RL. Ichiro is 100% playable, and I think Dragon can run Duel to the Death, and I think that's the deck you want to play. Because if Towers is a thing, then you give Hitomi 2 swords, or you give Hitomi a dragon tattoo and a sword, you then hit her with the box, hit her with the Way of the Dragon, and then you just go Duel to the Death, I kill 2 people dead. I built that deck. Me and Isawa Jim have seen a bit of play over it. We've seen that it has potential. And yes, I'm going to use this podcast to signal boost. Please play Duel to the Death. It is a good card.
I'm going to signal boost. Please don't play Duel to the Death. I like my characters being alive.
like Tyler on the Art of Warcast, I think it was, basically said that he printed Duel to the Death, and then he sent that out into the wild, and then immediately after his hand let go, he went, oh, I think I might have just broken the game. Now, granted, it didn't, but now that Steward of Law is gone, I say we break the game. Like,
Steward of Law is a card that I do not get why it was removed, and the explanation in the article is poor at best.
Why it was removed off the list? Yeah. It removes player choice. It's the complete opposite of the logic they used to ban the other cards.
Yeah, I mean, I I think the reason they did it is that they were taking so much from Crane that they didn't want to give Crane the Scorpion treatment, even though Crane has never been as good as Scorpion.
Only one of the two of them has won Worlds.
Oh,
Rip.
I'm just saying. But I think that was the logic behind it. And here's another thing, actually. I think with Toshimoko on the RL, their ability to run Duel to the Death actually goes down because Crane wants to take Magistrate State, and now we're okay. So Dragon's done because that's basically my thing. But let's talk about Crane because how interwoven this decision is. I think Toshimoko going away is the reason Steward of Law got off of the RL, because if you take Toshimoko, Steward of Law, Duel to the Death, then you could do a lot of damage, but the only thing that will keep you going has to be Kakita's final stance. You don't have Magistrate Station anymore. So it's not like old Crane where Toshimoko's in every single conflict, like, and he's ready in every single conflict. Like, I think that's the idea, is that there are two decks, right? There's the Magistrate Station, and then there's Toshimoko, Duel to the Death. And I think that's the separation that they were going for.
Will the Toshimoko deck run Duel to the Death? Like, I don't see...
I would, but that's just me. Like, I legitimately think that Duel to the Death is so worth it. You only need to kill, like I don't know if, like, you've seen games, like, we've all seen games, even our listeners have seen games where someone buys a big dude turn 1 against a unicorn and then hits endless planes, or buys a big dude against crab and gets way of the crab, and then basically your opponent goes, well, good game, everybody, I'm going home. Like, Duel to the Death is that. It's just a little harder to set up. Like, I think it's a good card, but that's just me being grumpy and wanting it to be good.
We will have to see how it goes, because Trevor Cuba is a big Crane player in my area. He's well known online. He tested using Steward of Law as the restricted card, and according to him, it's pretty so-so. We'll have to see how it goes afterwards. We'll have to see how it comes out. But his claim was that it was only so-so, and he wasn't a huge fan of it.
As the restricted. Its utility out of restricted, I think it's going to go in every Crane deck.
It will, but with Duel to the Death and everything, he said that it just didn't do what you wanted it to.
We'll move away from Duel to the Death, and we should talk about Uji.
I mean, what is there to talk about? He got an errata that made him a lot less good, a lot less perfect, really. And now he's a lesser Hidden Moon Dojo.
I think it was either errata him or ban him. So the errata is very clean. It's very simple.
Now, allow me to put on my tinfoil hat really quick.
Uh-oh.
So, do you think it was intentional that they had forgotten to put the unique symbol on the Uji promo just to throw us off of the trail? The promo was correctly printed, but they didn't want to leak the errata early, so they forgot, quote unquote, the unique symbol.
No.
All right, well, F you, buddy.
I mean, look at the art for the Against the Waves errata costing 9 fate.
Oh.
Like, if you want to do a conspiracy theory, there's your theory.
Right.
If that image got leaked, then everybody would have been talking about that.
All right, fair enough. I think Uji. I think Uji is really good. I think Crane decks are going to play him, and if there are any Crane players listening, I think you should run Uji, Kuwanen, and Sashimono, because if Sashimono sticks for more than 2 turns, or for more than 1 turn with those dudes, you'll just win. Like Sashimono is so good. Uji is good. Duelist training is disgusting with Uji. I don't know. But other than that, I don't think there's a lot of news on the Crane front. I think Crane is going to be the new tier 1. A lot of people have been saying Crane is the new tier 1, even with all of the changes. And I think it's because that they can run a lot of cancels. And it's just and they're big and they're mean. I think they're gonna be the new tier 1. Either that or Crab.
Yeah, I think Phoenix still has a real good shot at it.
Phoenix is an uphill battle to come after the restricted list. We'll have a good shot at it later. I think going into LVO, I think I'll agree. We're either going to see a unicorn, crab, or crane winner out of LVO.
Unicorn.
Yep. So unicorn came out of this like a freaking bandit. They lost charge.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while.
Yeah, okay. Like, okay, maybe it's just me. But I've played the unicorn player in our the unicorn Hanamoto in our meta a lot. Without charge in his deck, I'm not afraid of his deck.
Oh, you should be. You absolutely should be. For greater glory coming off.
But that means he has to splash Lion. Like, what else is he gonna splash from Lion?
Plenty. Service to my lord.
Strength in numbers, in service to my lord.
I mean, I guess I'll see what happens. Color me skeptical, but I think that people are underestimating the impact of losing charge.
No.
Because think about it, they had the opportunity. Like maybe I'm losing the forest before the trees, or whatever that saying is. They had the opportunity to take for greater glory before charge went away, before charge was banned, and they didn't.
Because given the two, charge was better. Now they don't have to make the choice. They just get the other good card they have.
I guess. I mean, what RL are unicorns going to pack anyway? I mean, it doesn't look like there's a lot on here that they want to run.
Gateway to Mado.
Yeah. Isn't that usually like kind of a bad sign when you look at the RL and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to pick one of these cards and I'm going to build a deck around that card, which is kind of how I treat don't do what I do. I'm a bad player, but that's what I do with the RL. And when a unicorn looks at this, they're like, Spyglass? Maybe?
Yeah, so Unicorn's gonna probably either do Spyglass or Gateway to Mado. Maybe policy debate.
Maybe policy debate's the new charge. I'm down for that. Or they can just run the Imperial Palace. Why not?
There was some talk about going Dragon from Miyamoto's Fury.
Yeah, you see kind of what I'm getting at. Like, I don't think HMT has enough gas without charge. But we will see. I may be proven wrong, but that's going to be my stance for now. I think Shishi is the next deck. And I think Shishi, because against the waves and because of the amount of eminence that's coming out in this pack.
I mean, we'll see. I don't think it's as bad as you're making out to be. A lot of people are crying over the loss of charge.
I don't like the card. I think that card was like a black hole. It was a black hole because certain clans, Unicorn and Lion, they look at the RL and they go, cool, charge. I don't even care what else is on there, man. I have to run charge.
I think Unicorn is going to recover from this fairly easily. I think they're going to recover from this better than Scorpion is.
Oh, yeah. So before we move on to the last clan, which is Scorpion, is there anything left we want to say on Crane and Unicorn? Max?
Not on them specifically. I guess I'll real quick touch on charge. Maybe this will be edited to earlier, maybe it'll just be left out. But I think the biggest problem with charge is it stopped them from printing expensive characters, like really expensive ones.
Oh yeah, like 6 drops and 7 drops.
Hell, what if there was like a 10 cost Oni that they wanted to print and they just couldn't because charge
yes.
exists? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Print 10 cost Oni.
Like, just have it with some kind of restriction where if it would hit the discard pile, it removes itself from the game, and then you can't recur it or anything like that. Like,
yeah, I'd be totally down for that. Like, I actually want to see big guys. Like, so I actually tried really hard to make Hoshi playable in my Katana of Fire deck because he has fire, right? And that bumps up the Katana a little bit, but he's just so goddamn expensive. It is surprising how much 6 Fate is. Like I can pay 5 Fate for Yukuni and not blink an eye, but like when I'm forced to take 6 Fate out of my pool for anything, it hurts.
Yeah. There is something I wanted to say on Phoenix, touching back on that. Taking Secluded Shrine off the list was a bad idea.
I don't think Enlightenment's gonna be that big of a deal. It's 5 Fate. It's 5 Fate. It's so expensive.
But now you have one clan that is able to do it with relative ease. Not just consistency, ease.
I think that by doing this list also shows they're willing, especially because they talked about it, they're willing to update the list when needed. If this comes out and is like dominant and nonsense, just like they were talking about with Trojan's Curse, it'll find its way back on there. But saying, because of this theoretical weird alternate win condition, they could win the game easily, I let them have the chance to do it.
That's fair.
And if it shows it to be a problem, hit it. But if it doesn't, because it's a weird random 5-cost alternate win con, then let one person out of every 20 win the game with it. Like,
That's fair.
Oh, and by the way, if you see the Laughing Spider at a Kotai, let me know if you are running Enlightenment in your deck, and I will give you a little mini Buddha statue. That's what I'm going to be doing. All of the people who run Enlightenment get little mini Buddhas. It's going to be awesome.
So, no, that's what I wanted to say on Phoenix.
I look forward. I like Enlightenment. I want to play a Dragon Enlightenment deck. Like, I think it's going to be fun. Not good. I wish it was good, but it's not good. But it's going to be fun. Yeah, let's hit the Scorpion and be on our way out.
Scorpion didn't get hit hard enough. End of conversation.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
Like, I mean, what do they, like, let's count them. You got Cory Mori. You got, Young Rumor Monger's off, but I don't think anyone even cares, right? So you got, Secret Cash, Cunning Magistrate, Face Worse Than Death, Forged Edict, Mark of Shame. You know what else is missing from here? Maze of Illusion.
Backhanded
that
compliment.
Oh, yeah, that should have actually been banned, I think.
What? Why?
Especially
F you,
since,
Tim.
especially since it's now around for an additional year. Do you know how much I was looking forward to rotation and that card going away forever? And then they pushed back rotation, allowed that card to stay. Now that card is actively bad for this game.
I was willing to give up Hurricane Punch, Sacred Sanctuary, and freaking Tagashi Mitsu in order to see Backhanded Compliment go away.
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't think that dedicated Dishonor has legs unless if you have abilities that just say player loses honor.
Is that a bad thing, though?
Well, yes.
Yeah, is Dishonor, like...
Yes, because if you don't have ways to actively do the alternate win conditions, why have the alternate win conditions?
So you're telling me that unless people are actively building to be playing Enlightenment, that it shouldn't have been printed?
I mean, I get the idea behind the statement.
What I'm saying is that
I don't necessarily think that's exactly what he meant.
well, no, it's actually the opposite. What I'm saying is we need dedicated honor running cards.
I think active honor running and active dishonor cards break the core concept of the game so much that they are not good for the game. I think they should be difficult to achieve alternate win conditions. They should not be brainless. I put backhanded compliment in my deck, played a few cards that made you lose honor. Ha ha, I drew 3 backhanded compliments in the top half of my deck, so you lose. I don't think Exodia should be a thing in this game.
So Jim runs dedicated Dishonor and has since the dawn of time, like since New 5R started. And Scorpion does it in a really unfun way, right? Going against you, Jim, when I sit down, I have a chance. I think to myself that, like, maybe if he doesn't see Display of Power and I can, like, weasel my way through a few turns, I can actually maybe get ahead and I'll be fine. Like sitting across from a Scorpion player, especially before the restricted list, you're like, well, cool. I'm gonna hit Secret Cash. He's gonna get some bull crap. He's gonna Marcus Shane me, Noble Sack me. All of my dudes are gonna die. Like every single card they draw hurts you so bad, and it's so much unfun to see your towers explode. Just they swing at you with a 1/2 and you have to defend. Like, I swing at you with Blackmail Artist. Well, I have to defend because if I don't, I'm gonna lose immediately. Like, every decision they force the player to make is really, really bad. And that's why I think that dedicated Dishonor can be a thing. Your dedicated Dishonor deck is okay. It's fun to play against. It's actually not fun to play against, but it's
Wow.
it's fair. It's fair.
Tell me how you really feel.
The Scorpion dedicated Dishonor is like pulling your own teeth and hoping that you pull out all your teeth before you die. Like
We talked about how there are cards that got banned because they are unfun to play against. I think that being at 3 honor and being like, okay, they've drawn half their deck, that's a lot, but I'm probably okay, and them going, whoops, nope, in addition to drawing 2 Display of Powers and 2 Fate Worse Than Deaths, you also just die now. That's not fun. I have only rage quit one night of L5R, and it was because of Scorpion Dishonor drawing every card they needed 2 games in a row, and it's so unfun to play against. Backhanded Compliment does not make interaction. It does not improve the gameplay experience. Like, are you telling me you have fun just going, hi, I drew the right cards, you lose the game? Because that's not fun.
I mean, that's what red deck wins in Magic. That's what red deck does. It's like, oh, hey,
Yeah, and I actively hate red decks, too.
And
This
to be
game
honest,
is not Magic, and it should not be Magic.
So that actually touches on the only real problem I have with the ban list, is that different players are going to have different opinions on what's unfun. And banning something purely because people consider it unfun is highly subjective.
I don't know. Like, so Max is a pretty calm guy, right? And we both know Leon, a really big name from old 5R. There was a deck. I don't think I've ever seen Leon rage quit except when he was playing against Brendan's Yasuki Dishonor, the Emperor Edition version that just locks your opponent out of the game and slowly drains them of money and honor. And he literally told me, if you play that deck again, I'm not playing with you. Like, Dishonor hasn't been a fun thing. It's okay. It's okay to put pressure on, like, the Crab Dishonor is okay. But like when it's dedicated, it gets kind of rude and unfun.
Now, I agree that locking your opponent out of things, the Isawa Tadaka Guest of Honor package, those are what are widely considered unfun, but they also have the underlying issue of locking your opponent out. And locking your opponent out needed to go. But Backhanded Compliment has interactions.
Backhanded Compliment takes a game from being interactive and enjoyable to ending immediately in an unsatisfying way.
It has interactions, but they're not many.
And let's be honest, you have never played a Backhanded Compliment when your opponent even has the opportunity to counterspell, right? Unless you're going against Scorpion.
Radically untrue. I play them with counterspells on the board all the time. I just cry when they hit.
I think the point Max is trying to make is if you're ever at a tournament and you have to look at your opponent and go, "Hey, do you have it?" That's just not cool. Like, "Oh, do you have the 2 backhands you need to win?" Yeah? Okay, cool. Like, it ends the game in like a little pocket popper. Just and you're like, all right. We'll just go. Like, lose, like, everyone swings in for air. That's okay. But like backhand, that's boring. But I don't want to get hung up on this because friggin' Itsy Bitsy and Max offline had like an entire conversation about the bid dials. So I don't want to have that conversation again. But I think we should wrap it up here. I don't think there's anything left that we necessarily need to say. Do you guys have any last thoughts? Any last things you want to put out there?
No, I think
Free
I'm
spyglass.
good. Yeah, free spyglass.
Hashtag free spyglass. Okay. All right. Then that will be us. This has been the 9th Kami podcast. And print 10 cost Oni. And we will see you next time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go cuddle some Jade now.